in a prayer.
For the pledge.
All right, if we could all please rise, and the Honorable Brandon McCullough will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilman McCullough. Good evening and welcome to the April 12th, 2021 study session of the Livonia City Council. This meeting sets the agenda for the 119th regular meeting, a voting meeting that will take place on Monday, April 16th, 2021. I think we have all members of the council with us this evening. I see that Council Member Toy is still on. I know that she's under the weather, so she may or may not be joining us. Tonight's meeting, does anyone from the council have any announcements to make this evening? Member Jolly.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to take one more quick moment here to wish a very happy 8th birthday to Claire Bear, right before she goes to bed. So, good night,
Happy birthday, Claire. I think I can pretty much speak for all of us in guaranteeing that is the highlight of either one of these meetings tonight. So thank you for letting us wish Claire a happy birthday. All right. I do not have any announcements. Council does not have any other announcements. Mr. Jolly, are you able to tell us when Claire's actual birthday is?
April 24th.
All right, wonderful.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. And I know that Ms. Kasperwitz also celebrates 2 children's birthdays both in April, Sarah? Both in April?
One at the end of March and one coming up this Friday.
All right, so happy birthday to Claire and Lily this week.
Haley.
On 50/50. All right.
Thank you.
This meeting is a study meeting. There will be no votes taken at this meeting. Council members will, however, offer either one resolution or a combination of resolutions for each item. The resolutions offered may include an approving, denying, or referring resolution to committee or city department for its report and recommendation. A resolution of no further action may also be offered. There are some items that will simply be received and filed for the information of the City Council. Please note that all of the items on tonight's agenda will move on to the regular meeting of Monday, April 26, 2021, where they will officially be voted upon. If you would like to participate in any of the agenda items that are taken up this evening, please use the raise hand button if you're joining us by Zoom, or press *9 on your phone when the item is called and you will be recognized at the appropriate time. Generally, the petitioner, whether that is the city or private entity, will make the initial presentation, followed by remarks and questions from those in the audience who wish to speak. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and address for the record so that your remarks may be properly attributed to you in the minutes for this meeting. It will also let those following along on Zoom or on the phone know who is speaking to them. And if you are joining us by phone and you are acknowledged and it's your turn to speak, please press #6 so you may speak to us. All right, we begin with new business item number 1. Holly Maluski, and please correct me if I mispronounce that, is requesting a block party to be held on Friday, July 23rd, 2021, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Marcia Street between Houghton Drive and 16217 Marcia Street, with a rain date of Friday, July 30th, 2021. Good evening. This is Holly, and I think probably the petitioner. Holly, you should be, there we go.
All righty. Hi, this is Holly Molesky, and I'm at 16181 Marcia, and we are petitioning to have a block party and for our 3 graduating seniors on the block.
Vice President Barr.
Yeah, Madam President, everything looks like it's in order. It sounds like a great event. I'll offer approval for consent if there's no objection.
All right, seeing none, it'll be placed on the consent agenda. Ms. Molesky, you said it was Molesky, is that correct?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
All right, so that means you don't have to come back to the meeting on April 26th. You have your approval, and congratulations. So the graduates on your street, and that's really neat that you're doing a combined party. We'll
Awesome.
Good luck, and please wish all the graduates on the street success on behalf of congratulations, success from City Council.
Thank you very much. I appreciate what you all do for our city, and good night.
Thank you very much. Item number 2 is a request to waive the formal bidding process and authorize purchase of a brick station alerting system. This comes to us from Livonia Fire and Rescue to provide a cutting-edge technological enhancement in the delivery of dispatch information by automating the dispatch process from budgeted funds. Is that Mr. Deputy Chief Unsworth? All right. Good evening, John.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. Chief Tebner couldn't be here tonight. Asked me to step in for him. Tonight, we're respectfully requesting that City Council approve the purchase of a bricks alerting system, the amount of $110,000 from budgeted capital outlay funds, purchased through Bricks Incorporated of Rochester, New York. For the past year, we have tested this system, a partial version of this system. It has been determined that this system will provide the fire department with cutting-edge technological advancement in the delivery of dispatch information by automating the dispatch process. The full version of the system will provide a stable, prompt, accurate, efficient, and streamlined approach to accurate alerting with a health-conscious approach in mind. This technology will help reduce response times while providing a higher level of service to the community. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I believe Councilmember Toy is just coughing.
Oh, sorry. This system will also help reduce response errors by increasing the clarity of dispatches and in addition, reduce response times, thus maximizing dispatch efficiency, accuracy, and effectiveness. This system also provides an upgrade to a much needed upgrade to an out-of-date system that's approximately 10 years old. Currently, we use a radio and alerting system, or two separate systems that have to be turned on and turned off daily and nightly. So in addition to that, we're also requesting a waiver of the formal bid process. Since there is no advantage to the city would result from competitive bidding process, as this is a specialized type of equipment due to the unique cloud-based platform, and it also integrates with our current Clemis system. There are some other systems out there that do not do that. So that's our request this evening.
All right, Council.
Madam President.
I think Councilmember Toy originally had her hand up and then I think took it down when she was coughing. Councilmember Toy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. and Thank you for understanding the fact I got this darn thing going on. I'm going to offer to approve you, but I also, and I know it goes well for all of us, I want to thank the fire department and all the volunteers over at the senior center and the visits they're doing. And oh my goodness, you know, I had an opportunity to go over there and I'm telling you, what a fabulous job everybody's doing. And I'm so proud. And thank you very, very much, John. If you take that back to the men and women and anyone else in the city, nothing but positive comments. So thank you again. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your indulgence. Sorry I was a little late. I had a coughing attack, so I apologize. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, John, you're all set with it. That was for consent, correct? Councilmember Toy and John, no apologies necessary. We love the chief. We're always happy to see him, but we're always very happy to see you as well. So thank you for being here tonight. And thank you for everything you and the department do.
Thank you. I appreciate it and have a good night.
You too. Item number 3 is a request to renew software maintenance agreement with sole source provider. This comes to us from the Department of Information Systems, SRI Incorporated, for the city's geographic information system, also known as GIS, for a period of 1 year from budgeted funds. Good evening, Casey.
Good evening, Council. I always feel like I'm the wizard behind the curtain when I actually have to talk.
You are.
This item's an annual renewal of our geographic information systems, or GIS software maintenance. It provides mapping functionality to several city departments, including engineering, DPW, planning, assessing, inspection, as well as several mapping applications on the city website. This past year, we also used the software to track daily COVID statistics for the city. The total cost comes to $21,000 and is accounted for in budgeted funds, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Vice President Barr.
No questions. Understand that this is something comes up annually and that COVID site is something I use weekly because I track those things. So I offer this for approval for consent if there's no objection.
All right, no objections I don't see for placing on consent. Case it's placed on the consent, but let me just say that unlike the wizard, you are powerful behind the curtain, but you are also powerful, very powerful, and the curtain is pulled back. So in that way, you're not like the wizard.
Thank you.
And I would like to tell you that you don't have to come back to see us on the 26th, but you know you do, so.
All right. Thank you.
Item number 4, request to waive the formal bidding process and authorize purchase of furniture. This comes to us from the Livonia Public Library to replace furniture at the Bennett Civic Center Library from budgeted funds. Good evening. Councilmember Jolly?
Thank you, Madam President. I was expecting somebody, as we all were, to speak on this matter. I think we recently heard about the great demand there was for chairs in general at the library, and having all of us spent a great deal of time there, I think it was about time to get some new chairs. So I'm happy to offer an approving for this item. But I also see that our library director, Tony Laporte, is on as well. So she
Yes.
better address the needs. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, good evening, Ms. Laporte. There you go. Tony, you there? Oh. Tony, you should be able to mute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. Good evening, Madam President and Council. I am here today to request permission to purchase new furniture for the Bennett Civic Center Library. It is long overdue. We've actually gotten rid of quite a bit of it because it was pretty much falling apart. We have budgeted funds of $35,273.31. It's in the budget, and we are requesting that you waive the formal bidding process and approve the quote from Workspace Interiors. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, I'll go back to Councilmember Jolly and then Councilmember McCullough.
I'm happy to offer an approving for consent. We all know this is well needed at the library, and it's about time that we invest some funds where we are able to upgrade the facilities. Thank you. All
right, Councilmember McCullough and then Councilmember Donovan.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to touch base. I know it says a request, on a lot of our agenda items, for all the people that are out there listening, it says waive the formal bidding process. If you look at the packet information, while we are waiving the formal bidding process, this is a cooperative purchasing agreement through a MENA partner cooperative purchasing contract, which basically means that we are leveraging a contract that's already been procured, leveraging the lowest rates out there. So I always like to touch that out, just so it doesn't seem like we're approving, waiving the bid process. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Donovan.
Thank you, Madam President, to the chair to tell me, how long do you hope, well, most importantly, seating is very important, right? I mean, comfortable seating is a must at a library. How long do you hope to use this new furniture? Is it a 10-year idea, 5 years? What do you expect to have to change the seating again? Just out of curiosity.
Well, our previous furniture is over 30 years old. And I know they don't make it like they used to, but I'm hoping that this does last at least 15 years. And who knows, it could be even longer. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Thank you. And thanks for all the hard work you and your staff and everyone at the library does. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That was on consent, correct? All right, we have that in consent. All right, item number 5. This is a request to extend the contract with Crimboli Nursery. This comes to us from the Public Service Division for the planting of 500 right-of-way and 100 park trees right-of-way, utilizing 2020 pricing with a 1-year extension from budget funds. It's Council Resolution 54-20. And I believe that we have Mr. Moore with us this evening. Doug.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You can hear me now. Hallelujah. The department is requesting council to extend the 2020 street tree planting program into the 2021 season. We're looking to plant approximately 600 trees. Crimboli Nursery was the approved bidder for the 2020 program. They did really well in a very difficult year. The residents were happy with the trees. We were happy with their performance and how they followed the contract requirements. We're asking council to approve the 2021 street tree planting program for $125,000. That's the total budgeted amount that's in the approved budget for the year. We're looking at planting. We have 28 main species and we have 12 approved substitutions should one of the 28 be not available.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Brandon.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to first, if I may, through the chair to Mr. Moore, just ask a few questions on the actual process. In the event, with the replacement, I did hear through a few residents that they were frustrated with the right-of-way trees almost being dead on arrival is what they would say. And I know you probably get that a lot because it's either spring or fall plantings. But the question I do have, outside of that, I do know that obviously trees sometimes take, some of them don't. There's a small percentage, I get that. But what I did learn is that once they get planted, it takes 2 seasons, whether it's spring and fall, then to have to be re-inspected again, to be replanted. Is that our current protocol with the contract?
We have a 1-year warranty, so the trees that were planted last May will be inspected this May for life. If they are not actively growing and thriving, they go on the replacement list, which the contractor will have to replace. And we hold back 5% of the contract amount to make sure that they come back and do the warranty replacements.
Thank you. And then the last question I do have is, in the event that someone is not happy with when a tree does get planted, is it safe that we can direct things just to the general, the DPW line for an inspection, just to make sure staff is aware?
Yes.
Thank you. For that, thank you for that, Mr. Moore. I'd be happy to offer an approving for consent if there is no objections.
Seeing no objections, we can place that on consent. So I think we're all set. Doug, thank you. And we sure hope Leah's feeling better.
She's sitting right here listening, and she
All
is.
right.
Thank you.
Get well, Leah. All right. Thank you very much. Item number 6 is a request for authorization to purchase 110 passenger transit van utilizing the State of Michigan Macomb County Consortium bid pricing. This comes from the Public Service Division to replace a current van from budgeted funds. Mr. Moore, is that still you on this one? Doug, is that you?
Sorry, I got muted.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Doug Moore with Public Works again. This item was requested and approved in the 2021 capital budget. It's used to move personnel, city staff, city employees to meetings, site visits, educational opportunities, and training opportunities. It is available for all city departments to use. It's being purchased on the state bid from Signature Ford of Owasso in the amount of $34,786.
Councilmember Toy.
Madam Chair, if it's okay, I'll offer an approving on consent.
Councilmember.
I'm sorry.
No, Kathy has her hand up.
Oh, pardon me.
Through the chair to Doug. Doug, do we have such a van currently that it's replacing?
Yes, I'm sorry, we do. We have a 2005 model that has seen better days, and that will be disposed of through the auction process.
Thank you.
All right, any objections to placing this on consent? Seeing none, we'll place that on consent. Item number 7 is request for authorization to purchase 2 trailer-mounted leaf vacuums through the Michigan Deal, I guess it's pronounced My Deal state bid process. This comes also from the Public Service Division to replace 2 current units from budgeted funds. Mr. Moore.
Yes, we're looking to purchase 2 trailer-mounted leaf collectors. These are the ones that are towed to do the main roads. We've got 2 that are in need of substantial repairs that exceed their value. These are used in our bulk leaf pickup program, and you see them on the main roads. They're the real big ones. We currently have 4 in the fleet, and the 2 that are being replaced would be disposed of through the auction process. They are $47,850 each for a total of $95,700.
Councilmember White.
These are essential items of equipment. I'm happy to offer an approving on consent if there's no objection.
All right, I see no objections. All right, next is item number 8. This is a request for authorization to purchase 2 15-inch drum-style brush hookers through the state of Michigan bid process. This too comes from the Public Service Division to be used by the Roads Department from funds budgeted in the 2021 Refuse Fund. Mr. Moore.
The department is looking to replace 2 of the 15-inch chippers. These are used in the bulk brush pickup program, knock on wood, storm emergency response, tree removals and the like. We're replacing 2 older chippers that, again, repair costs are exceeding values, and they will be gotten rid of through the auction process. We're looking to purchase them from Bandit Industries of Remus. For one is at $40,245.60, or a total of $80,491.20.
Councilmember Toy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe we purchased these before from the Remus group up there, and they do an excellent job. People are so ecstatic in our area of how quickly you guys get out there and grind up those branches and different things. I want to say thank you, and I want to offer an approving. These are more than welcome and needed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
All right, that's on consent. Seeing no objections. Item number 9 is a request for authorization to purchase 1 trailer-mounted asphalt hot box through the National Cooperative Purchase Alliance. This comes to us from the Public Service Division for use by the Roads Department from budgeted funds. Mr. Moore.
And this is the last one for tonight. The department is looking to purchase trailer-mounted asphalt hot box. It's replacing one that was purchased in 2012 that's in poor condition. The metal is rotting, causing holes, and repairs are exceeding its present value. These are used to haul around the asphalt patch for potholes repairs. It's heated so that the stuff will stay malleable and easy to work with when it goes into the holes. The new unit has a battery charger, diesel-powered heater, tool rack, solvent tank, and safety directional board. It's purchased through the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance, and the cost is $23,180, and the servicing dealer is Ulta Equipment of New Hudson.
Council.
Move approving, Madam Chair.
Pardon me?
I would move approving, if that's okay.
Consent?
Yes, please.
All right, if there are no objections.
Madam President.
Vice President Barr.
No objection, just giving you a heads up that Councilman Donovic lost his Wi-Fi connection and is trying to get back on.
I had seen that. Thank you very much. Doug, what year was the one that we're replacing? How old is it?
2012.
All right, so does that mean that Mr. Garrison is not going to have to spend all his time on this vehicle anymore.
Yes, correct. You will be happy in the morning.
All right, good. He does an amazing job and his team over there keeping our vehicles in, doing things to extend the life with both maintenance and what they're able to do and retrofitting. So I'm glad this will give them some relief and allow them to focus on probably some other projects.
They do, and thank you.
That's your last item for this evening?
Yes, Mr. Rushlow has the Aetna meters.
All right. Well, good night, Doug, and thanks again. Nice to see you, and Leo, just keep getting well.
Thank you, and have a good evening, Council.
You too. Item number 10, request to extend the contract with Aetna Supply Company, the sole source provider of the census meters in Michigan. This comes to us from the Public Service Division for water meters and supplies in amount not to exceed $1.5 million annually for a 2-year extension. So originally Council Resolution 90-16. Mr. Rushlow. There we go.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, Council. Yeah, this item before you is regarding our recommendation to extend the contract for water meters and supplies with Aetna Supply Company. They are the sole supplier of census water meters, which is the meter we use here in Livonia throughout the state of Michigan. Back in March of 2019, City Council had passed a resolution awarding a 2-year extension to Aetna Supply for water meters and supplies. That extension has thus expired recently on March 31st of 2021. So knowing that was coming up for an expiration, DPW staff had been discussing with Aetna regarding an updated pricing quote for an additional 2-year extension, which would get us through March 31st of 2023. Comparing the current quote to the previous year's pricings, this quote reflects an overall decrease of over 7% on items that we purchase most frequently and in the largest quantities over the last couple of years. If you look at the contract overall or the quote overall, there's a small 1.6% increase in the second year on those same items that we purchase most usually and frequently. Similar to the previous extension, DPW had also successfully negotiated a price reduction on purchases for bulk orders of 2,000 or more units. This has resulted in significant cost savings during our continued system-wide meter changeout program of 10% off of the listed price of the quote. So it's our recommendation from the Public Service Division that City Council proceed to authorize purchase from Aetna Supply Company for water meters and supplies in an amount not to exceed $1,500,000 annually from April 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2023 at the unit pricing per the attached quote. The budgeted funds are available in the Water and Sewer Fund. We also request a waiver of the formal bidding process in accordance with city ordinances as amended, since no advantage to the city results from competitive bidding for this specific type of sole source water meter. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Councilmember White.
I'm happy to offer the approving. This is a big ticket item, but it looks like we've got some significant cost savings built in. So if there's no objection, I'd ask that this be placed on consent.
All right, I see no objections. Place it on consent. Item number 11. Is that Jacob? I think now we move along to Mr. Zielinski. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Jacob.
Thank you. Good evening.
Item number 11, request for additional expenditure from the Engineering Division for the installation of a traffic signal mast arm and the signal work at the intersection of Highway Old M14 and Tech Center Drive, Council Resolution 335-19. Mr. Zielinski.
Good evening, Madam President, City Council members. This is just a project that was completed last fall. We've got some design costs that was provided to us by MDOT. Looking for your approval in the amount of $16,000 to go ahead and provide payment to that contract. We're slightly over, so we just wanted to make sure we go to city council once, provide payment for part of the design, and any remaining invoices, we think there's just a few left. That'll be very small to accommodate this request. I also want to give a thanks out to Eric Fix at Showstack for providing the easement that was necessary to allow that traffic signal to be upgraded on the southwest corner, and looking to get the sidewalk replaced and the sprinkler system complete for them here shortly. But I want to appreciate their efforts and allowing this to happen at the PRDA corridor to improve that intersection at Tech Center and Plymouth Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council. Councilmember McCullough.
Madam President, I'd be happy to offer an approving for consent.
All right, I see no objections. We'll place that on consent. Item number 12, request to waive the formal bidding process and authorization for appropriation expenditure. This too comes to us from the engineering division for the 2021 Livonia DPW parking lot improvement project as part of the city's long-term program to fix safety issues in existing parking lots, utilizing pricing established with the award of contract 21A to Nagel Paving from budgeted funds.
Good evening, Madam President. This is a carryover or a carry on to the existing parking lot that was done a couple years ago. The parking lot, you looked at the sketch we provided to you, is basically north of the Rhodes Barn. That's where a majority of the employees park. And as you know, the DPW complex building is undergoing construction. I believe it's supposed to be opened up by early August. And in an effort to complete that work at the DPW complex, or also the contractor's Nagel Paving for Di Maria, we're also requesting as part of our capital improvement to replace, remove and replace the current parking lot. It's all cracked up, deteriorated past its point of life expectancy. In an effort to complete that with the project for Di Maria at the same time. That way, when we move down, engineering moves down there, and the facilities can be utilized by the employees, will be all complete at that location in the amount of $245,000. So we're looking for your improvements and money budgeted from the 401 account. And there's additional appropriation expenditure of $35,545. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, but looking forward to, again, coordinating both projects to be completed in an effort to improve the parking lot areas for the not only for employees, but also long-term for equipment to be parked out there when they're working on it. Thank you.
Councilmember Jolly.
Thank you, Madam President. This seems like a no-brainer to do all this work at once and wrap up the major improvements that we're making to the DPW site. I'm happy to offer an approving for consent.
Seeing no objections, we'll place that item on consent. Thank you, Mr. Zielinski.
Thank you for all your help.
Item number 13 is a waiver petition. This comes to us from the Planning Commission regarding petition 2021-02-02-03 submitted by Infinity Homes and Company requesting approval to develop the planned residential development under the single-family clustering option, will be known as Emerson Oaks, consisting of 35 site condominium lots on the property located on the north side of West Chicago Avenue between Harrison and Middlebelt Roads, 28400 West Chicago Avenue, the former Wilson Elementary School site, and the northwest quarter of Section 36. Good evening, Mr. Terramina.
Good evening. As you indicated, this is the former Wilson Elementary School site at the corner of Harrison Road and West Chicago Avenue. Council is familiar with this site. The change of zoning was reviewed late last year. First reading was given on December 2nd, and that rezoning would be from PL public land to R1, one family residential. The proposal before you this evening is consistent with the concept plans that were presented late last year. This is a planned residential development, a single family cluster. A conventional lot size for R1 development would be 7,200 square feet or 60 by 120 feet. In this case, the cluster option allows to preserve additional open space and to overcome natural and other unique obstacles and constraints that make developing under conventional standards more difficult. The design parameters here limit the density to 4 dwelling units per acre. It does allow for lots to be reduced in size. In this case, on this 8.74 acre site, the plan shows a total of 35 single-family lots. As you can see here, there would be 2 roads providing access to the lots in the subdivision, Parkside Court and Tulipwood. 5 other lots would have direct access onto West Chicago Street, and those are located in the southeast corner of the property. As I indicated, under the clustering option, there's no minimum lot size. In this case, the majority of the homes measure 52 feet by 115 feet for a total area of 5,980 square feet. Stormwater management, as you can see too on this plan, would be developed in the northeast corner of the property where it's indicated forebay and pond. Those are necessary as part of the development process and have been incorporated within the open space area in that part of the site. Other areas of open space include along the west side of the property, along portions of West Chicago, as well as Harrison Avenue. And when you add all these areas together, they're roughly 70,000 square feet of open space. And that translates roughly to about 2,000 square feet per lot, which is substantially more than the 760 square feet that we normally require. Part of that dedication or part of that open space does include an area in the northeast corner of the property. This is an area that would be provided to the city of Livonia and the Parks and Recreation to allow for the expansion of the parking lot that is part of the Clement Circle pool property. The developers have presented a plan in which they would not only dedicate the land, but also make the expansion on behalf of the city, providing stormwater within the basins that are being provided on the site. The plans also include fully detailed landscape plans. Planning Commission reviewed this at a meeting a few weeks ago, and they are recommending approval of the plans as submitted. Thank you.
Councilmember Jolly.
Thank you, Madam President. So this is a site that, when you initially look at the property over here and look at the traffic and the congestion that normally takes place, particularly in the summer on Harrison Avenue, this plan accounts for that. And I'm thankful that the developer has offered this parking lot expansion, not only the property, but to do the work. I think overall, people, nobody likes to see green space turn into an additional development, but there is a demand for housing of this nature in Livonia. And it's also a little bit easier to do in this circumstance because there is the park just directly north of this that will remain open and green space. Mr. Termina, I have one question in regards to the site plan, and I can't really make way of what's being shown on the screen to find the answer. But the development that was done on Farmington Road near 8 Mile, I can't remember the name of that particular site, but it was done by the same developer just within the last year and a half or so. The marker for that community, its placement, it seems very odd. When we drive down Farmington Road, it almost appears that the marker announcing the name of the community is in the middle of the yard on the first piece of property, the first home, the first condo. Can you tell me where the marker will be in this community? That's the first part of the question. The second part is the marker of that sort required in this sort of development? And then I might have some follow-up questions, but can you tackle those?
Yeah, they're not, I'll answer the last question first, and that is they're not required, although they are desired, obviously, as a form of identification, not only for the residents once they live in the subdivision, but during the marketing phase as well. In this particular case, and I cannot tell you exactly what happened at the Capri Court development that you're referring to at Farmington and 8 Mile Road. But what might be a little bit different here is the fact that at the entranceways, you'll notice, and I'm zooming in on that area, there's going to be 20 feet of open space between the sidewalk, in this case along West Chicago, and the lot line for the first home in the street. So that 20 feet here of open space provides ample opportunity for the inclusion of a monument identification sign. That 20 feet is provided here along West Chicago Street, and you'll notice too that it's provided along Harrison Avenue as well. So that could distinguish this project maybe from the one you referred to on 8 Mile Road, or excuse me, Farmington and 8 Mile.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. I'll offer an approving for regular. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President Barr, and then Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Madam President. A few questions for Mark. I'm going to have some questions for Mark, for Todd Zielinski, and then for the petitioner. Mark, can you remind me, R1, what's the standard lot size, width and height, or width and depth for R1? I know it's well,
60 by 120.
60 by 120. Okay, thanks.
Correct.
Let me just see here. So, sorry, I'm trying to get back to my correct page here. What are we looking at on this side? I know there's some varying, but just like along Tulipwood, what are the widths and depths of those?
This plan probably shows it better. It's 56 by 115 feet here on both sides of the street, 52 feet by 120 feet along West Chicago Street. So I'd say on average, these lots are about 52 feet by, or 54 feet by 115 feet.
Okay. And do we by chance have, I think I remember talking about this in a previous study meeting. If we look to some of the surrounding streets, say Hartel Street to the west, do you have an idea of what those lot sizes are? And I'd have the same question for like Harrison Street.
Yeah, I apologize. They don't show on this graphic, but the subdivision to the west, the lot sizes there generally run about 60 feet in width by 105 feet in depth. So those are shallow lots, but they are 60 feet in width. Looking at the development on the east side, on the east side of Harrison, that is, the majority of those lots are in the 50-foot range by 120, 130, 140 feet in depth. So they're narrow, but they're a little bit longer, but they're about the same width or a little bit narrower than the lots proposed at Emerson Oaks.
All right, I guess that's somewhat comforting then. I have to say, obviously we've dealt with Mr. Sauve a lot, and we've looked at a number of neighborhoods like this recently in the last few years, and I'm always uncomfortable with going with this narrow of lots, and here we're doing it again. And then related to that, the other thing that concerns me is the right-of-way side. We're looking at 50-foot wide, it looks like, right-of-way, and a 27-foot wide road. Mr. Zielinski, what's our standard requirement for that?
Engineering standards are 30-foot one back-to-back for the road width, and then 60-foot right-of-way, obviously. With the 50-foot right-of-way, you have the sidewalk on the easements be placed there. And also, obviously, with 27-foot, it's very difficult for vehicles that may want to park there. You may have to put parking on one side of the street going on in Tulipwood or Parkside. I'm not sure exactly. With that narrow width, it creates an issue. Obviously, the more room you have to park on the street, it makes it easier for people to park along the frontage of their property and also traverse through the street and for emergency vehicles to get to and from the destination.
Okay, yeah, and I know that that's our standard, and the Washington Park neighborhood, I know that we conceded on that one and went narrower. And I mean, if you go look over there, I don't even know how we planted trees over there. The space between the sidewalk and the road is so narrow. And so it concerns me about doing that here, especially when, and I'm just eyeballing it. And Todd, I don't know, maybe you have the measurements. I haven't asked, but like Hartel Street to the west, just eyeballing it, it would look to me like that's our standard right of way. Looking to the east over on, is it Garvelle Street, I think, if I'm going off memory here, Garvette Street. Again, just eyeballing it, that road looks a little narrower, but the the space between the sidewalk and the street looks pretty standard. I'm concerned. I obviously understand the developer's desire to maximize the amount of homes he can get on here. And I know that number is 35 and that's what we're showing here. But these lot sizes combined with the concession of going that narrow for a street and that narrow for the right of way, you know, between the street and the sidewalk, I'll just tell you flat out, I'm not comfortable with that the more I study this. Another question that I have is, and I guess this would probably be for, well, either Mark or Todd, either one. You know my concerns on another recent development just about the elevation difference between these homes and the surrounding neighborhoods. Some of our recent developments like this, in order to get the drainage for the pond, the homes have had to be elevated in the new neighborhood and they almost tower over the existing homes. Do we have that situation here?
Councilman Barr, the engineering, I don't think has been done to that degree on this site. So I would say that it will be less of an issue here. Number one, this doesn't have the same relationship to the homes as some of those other developments.
No, that's true.
You've got quite a difference, separation, either the streets separate this or you have the water property, the Great Lakes Water Authority property to the west and the park to the north. But we don't have all the information on the engineering at this point. Maybe the developer can shed some more light on what they're seeing at this point.
Actually, Mark, I appreciate you pointing that out. The way that this is situated relative to the existing homes, I think that's a moot point. So I'm not concerned about that. Yeah, so I guess that's just my comment. I mean, it's attractive as we know, Mr. Sauvé, as the Sauvays do. I mean, they do a nice job and they do attract neighborhoods. I think the homes they're showing here look very attractive. This is going to be great for that area, but I'll just say I'm not comfortable packing this many homes in there if it's going to require in that small of sizes. I mean, some of the frontage around that cul-de-sac's in the 30s lot widths, but even my bigger concern is giving up that much on the street and of the right of way. I think we probably made a mistake, or at the least, I just say I don't want to repeat what we did at Washington Park. And so I'd have a hard time supporting this the way it is right now. Thanks.
Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to kind of point out, so I grew up on Clemens Circle, which is closer to Plymouth Road. So that's part of the Thomas Elliott subdivision, of which those lots are 50 by, I think they're 140. My house was also like 950 square feet ranch, right? And we were, fairly close onto each other. I'd like to point out that the Pearl Wilson #2 sub is averaging around 57 foot of frontage. Chicago Heights, which is to the west, as Mr. Tormina brought up, is anywhere from 60 to 75, obviously a little bit less of a depth. Livonia Estates #2, which is located to the southeast, is averaging roughly 60 feet of frontage. And a lot of these homes are anywhere from 900 square feet to maybe 1,100 square feet homes that were predominantly built in the early 50s. And so while, I absolutely love the plan here, I think that taking this and putting in a subdivision makes the most sense. I like where the detention basin is, and I love the fact that it can kind of tug into public space into Clemens Circle Park. However, I seen the site plan and with the 52 by, I think, Mr. Tormina, can you go back to the overall rendering? A lot of these are 52 by 52, and I'm looking at some of these housing cut sheets. The Townsend is 2-story, 2,200 square feet. The Oakhurst is a colonial or at 1,700 square feet, and they're going to be lower in a lot size than some of these homes that are almost half the size. So I'll be completely real. I can't support the way that it sits right now. I need to see those lot sizes move up, a little bit more. I just think that there's more to see this development do well in this area. Those lot widths have to be more. And looking around the area, like I said, what you're putting it on there compared to what it has right now, I just don't think it's conducive to the overall, south end of West Chicago, Harrison area. And yeah, so the way it sits, I'm not happy with the spacing. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McCullough. I can't see Vice President Barr.
Just, I know we have an approving resolution on the table. In light of my and Councilman McCullough's comments, I'll offer a resolution for committee of the whole.
Do we have support? And I apologize because we're sharing Mr. Chairman's screen. I can't see one.
I'll support.
Don't need support. It's a study meeting.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. So we have a resolution for committee of the whole. Does anyone have anything else to offer? All right, Jim, I'm sorry. I think you're on mute. Maybe intentionally. All right.
I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to.
Probably the best conversation you've had all day. All right, I can't, and again, my apologies, I can't see right now. Let me see if I can, I guess I can go here. All right, I don't see that anyone is offering anything else, so we have Vice President Barr has offered to put this, a resolution, put this in committee of the whole.
Madam President, oh, he just put his hand out. I was going to say, I assume the petitioner's here and.
Yes. All right, good evening, Mr. Suave.
Good evening, honorable council members. How are you?
Good.
Enrico Suave, 37771 7 Mile Road, Livonia, 48152. Where do I begin after the commentary? Addressing the right of way and the road. I believe Councilmember Barr mentioned Washington Park. Washington Park was developed with a 50-foot right-of-way and a 31-foot wide road. In this particular development, when we have a 50-foot right-of-way and a 27-foot wide road, what will take care of the issues regarding the amount of space between the back of the curb and the inside of the walkway, city walk, which will offer more space for trees, et cetera. That's the main reason why we dropped down to a 27-foot road. We've done 27-foot roads in other developments the past 5 years: Arbor Trail Estates, Mystic Creek Estates, Capri Court, Adam Court, and Dover Court. So it's not like this is something that is fairly new. We have done it before and very recently. Lot sizes. The dimensions are 52 feet minimum. We have some that are larger. When you compare it, a normal 6x120 lot gives you 7,200 square feet. At least half of these lots are probably 7,200 square feet or a little bit greater. Yes, some are a little bit below there, but you probably got about 50% benchmark where they are 7,200 square feet. In the surrounding areas you mentioned, there are other 52 lots. It's kind of a cornucopia of lot sizes. There's varying lot widths, lot depths. Yeah, this is an older subdivision, but most homes back in the day, they were deeper because they had to accommodate for a detached garage. There's 1,000 square foot ranch, and a detached garage is probably average 20 by 20. That's another 400 square feet. So you got about 1,400 square feet of impervious surfaces there. And our smallest ranch we're offering in this subdivision is probably 1,250 to 1,300 square feet. So we're kind of mirroring that in our smallest ranch model. So we're not too far off the mark on the surrounding areas. Mark didn't show, but we also have pictures of the site. This is not one of our developments where we're sandwiched in between abutting residential homes. Half the lot is next to the water tower. How many areas in the city of Livonia is there barbed wire fence adjacent to residential communities? I haven't seen one besides this site. Number two is we got a dilapidated parking lot to the north of this property. We have to deal with that. We also have a 16-foot high fence that encloses the swimming pool there as well. So this is the development where we had to first see what was good for the community. We listened to the residents. Parking lot was an issue. We talked with Parks and Rec. We're going to take care of most of the expense. They're going to help out whatever they can, and we're putting a parking lot together. Number two is we have to think about saleability of these lots as well. So we had to actually enclose this development with ample amount of green space and landscaping in order to sell homes that back up to parking lots, that back up to 16-foot high fences, that back up to the barbed wire fence next to a water treatment plant. So there's a lot of give and take with this development that everyone has to look at the big picture. That's what compromise is about. And I think we established it here. I spent a lot of time personally developing this. I'm proud of it, and I hope the council members see the same as I see it.
All right, thank you, Vice President Barr.
Rico, of those other developments that you talked about, can you give me another example of one that has the 50-foot right of way and the 27-foot road that I can go drive it and take a look?
Mystic Creek.
Remind me which one that is. Is that
I'm pretty sure Mystic Creek. That's the one on Wayne Road, between 6 and 7 Mile.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's Arbor Trail Estates. That's on Ann Arbor Trail, just west of Wayne Road. And I think Capri Court is too. That's the one that I think one of the council members mentioned earlier on Farmington Road, south of 8 Mile. And Dover Court may be as well. That's the one that was referenced in the past with the houses that were a little bit higher, that was higher than its adjacent residence.
All right, I'll be sure to take a look at those before the next meeting to see what we're looking at. I appreciate you pointing out the Washington Park difference. That's significant, and made some other compelling points too, so thanks.
Councilmember McCullough. You're muted.
Thank you, Madam President. Through the chair to Mr. Rico. Enrico, the same question for that Mr. Vice President Barr had. Do you have a comparable with these type of size of homes with these 52 wide lots that we could peruse by?
Washington Park, and I'll point out one distinct difference between Washington Park. Washington Park had a minimum of 5 feet separation in between homes. This one has a minimum of 6 feet. So it's you're gaining 2 more feet in between the houses of 12 rather than 10 feet separation in between rooftops.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. I definitely will put it on the list, go take a peek.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? So Council Member Barr has offered a resolution to put this into committee of the whole.
Madam President, can I ask one more question, please?
Please.
Just follow up to Mr. McCullough's question. So, Rico, you said Washington Park is comparable for lot sizes, and maybe you've said this too. Is that comparable as the house size relative to the lot size as well, or are those homes bigger than what you're doing here?
They're comparable. The smallest ranch we built in there was about 1,250 square feet, and it goes up from there. I think the minimum colonial was about 1,500, 1,600 square feet.
So those homes are a little bit larger than what you're talking about here.
Well, there's a lot of different house sizes in there. I was giving you the minimum.
Yeah.
The maximum probably go up to 2,500 maybe. But if you look at the aggregate, it's probably 50-50. I know personally, we've done a lot of small ranches in there, a lot of smaller colonials. This would be a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of singles buy ranches, a lot of retirees buy the ranches. So it's a good mixture.
Yeah, Washington Park, they're just really packed in there. So that's why I just want to know how that compares to this. So,
but if you really want to see what it looks like on a small, we did Heritage Square. Drive by Heritage Square, and all the lots that are adjacent to commercial are 52 feet wide.
Mm-hmm.
Those are bigger homes, keep in mind. The minimum there, we did larger because of the proximity or the location of development. So it's a higher end community. Those are 52 foot wide with 6 foot side yards, which gives you an aggregate of 12 rather than an aggregate of 10. With after Washington Park, 10 foot was too close. We bumped it up to 12. So if you want to see what an end product looks like, and I think it's aesthetically pleasing, look at Heritage Square. A lot of them are ranches too. Some are colonials, all around the commercial side, which probably borders the northern end of the property up behind the church.
all right, thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, so we have one resolution offered, and that's to put it into committee of the whole. Anybody have anything else?
Just for the record, Madam President, I also offered an approving.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right, you did. So we have an approving resolution, and we have a referring to committee of the whole resolution. Anyone else? All right. So thank you, Rico, and I guess we'll see you on the 26th.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you. You too. All right, item 14, site plan petition. This comes us from the Planning Commission regarding petition 2021-02-08-01 submitted by Gargaro Construction to remodel the exterior of the commercial strip center located on the south side of 7 Mile Road between Farmington Road and Myron Avenue, 33527, 33528, and 33535 7 Mile Road in the northeast quarter of Section 9.
Council, this request involves changes to or renovations to two adjacent commercial buildings. They're under common ownership. They are located on the south side of 7 Mile. And you may be familiar with these buildings as they are immediately adjacent to the Primo's Pizzeria. The buildings, these are some photographs showing what the buildings currently look like. The rendering shows what they would look like after the renovations. And you can see the intent really is to unify the appearance of both buildings, combination of brick, cast stone, metal panels, cultured stone would be used in the design. This tower feature would be presented over the main entrance to one of the buildings. I believe the petitioner said he's going to consider making a similar entrance over the other building. Planning Commission did like the design, and they have approved it. I do have some samples here. I won't try to show you those material samples over the Zoom meeting here, but I can tell you that the rendering here probably does illustrate a little more gray than what the materials are. The materials tend to be a little bit lighter in color and a little bit of a brown tone as opposed to the dark gray.
Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an exciting thing. Anytime you have, an enhancement to a building that's been vacant for some time. I still remember the old bike shop that was in, I believe, the west section of this space, and the renderings look great. Like I said, this is taking something that was old, bringing it back to life, and obviously bringing businesses into the city. So I'm happy to offer an approving for consent if there are no objections.
I have a question. Mark, is there, and I'm trying to remember if I saw it somewhere else in the packet. What do they plan to do about that sign?
That item was discussed at the Planning Commission, and there was no resolution, and I believe does not alter the sign. The petitioner acknowledged that it's probably not in the best location, but I'm not sure if there's an alternate location. Maybe he could provide more information. I don't believe the resolution requires any change to that sign, though.
I know somewhere I saw a discussion. Do you have a picture of that sign? Is he going to replace the sign?
I don't know the answer to that, and unfortunately, none of the photographs here include the sign. It's basically in the middle of the parking lot. Maybe the aerial picks it up a little bit if you want to see the.
I mean, my feeling is it would be a shame.
It's right here.
Yeah, it would be a shame to upgrade that building and leave what, in my non-design, non-architect, non-planner hat is a really, really unattractive sign.
Yeah, and this really does show the limitation. So much of the site is devoted to pavement, actually all of it, if it's not building, it's pavement. So there's no landscaped areas. It would require the elimination of one parking space to relocate the sign to an area other than, where it is currently, unless you try to put a little bit of landscaping in right here and lower the sign. But again, that's something that the petitioner could respond to in terms of his ability to do that.
Yeah, I think, again, we're getting a really nice upgrade on that building. And I understand, depending what businesses are going in there, and I'm sorry, we don't have indicated what's going in there, right?
Gargara Construction will remain the primary tenant, but I do believe there's space available at the west end of the building, if not the entire westerly building, a portion of the western building, which would be available for lease.
So a tenant to be named later. So we don't know what the intensity would be and what parking spaces would be needed. I mean, I understand why it might not be possible to move it, but I just think it would be a shame to have this and then have the current monument sign. So I would like this not to go on consent. And I'd seen this on the planning committee. I don't know if I saw it in the minutes, the agenda, but I remember seeing it, and then I was driving by it, and I, was looking at that building and thinking how much this is needed. But then I looked at that sign, and it just, again, I'm not a design person, I'm not an urban planner, but I think that's a really bad looking sign. I mean, again, it served at the time, right? There's nothing inherently terrible about it. But you have this beautiful new building, beautiful new facade with a really old sign. So I guess that, at the next meeting or before then, I'd appreciate do we have anybody from Gargaro on the line? I can look, I suppose. Let me see. I'm having a hard time pulling this up. Let me see. There we go. Do you know, Mark, if we have anybody on the line from Gargaro?
I'm looking right now and I don't see.
Okay, well, I know this came out of planning with a recommendation, with a approving recommendation, or, that this is their proposal, but it's always nice to see a petitioner on a call when we're looking at a significant remodel. And so I would like this to go on the consent. And I'd like to ask that the petitioner maybe respond to us through you about intentions with the sign and to be present at the next meeting. And Sarah can follow up with the petitioner to request, make sure that they're at the next meeting. Anyone else? Councilmember Toy and then Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, I've lost some technical stuff. I can't seem to come back on, but I got the hand thing on. I wanted to make a comment, if I may, or at least ask. On these buildings, as you look along, what is it, 7 Mile, kind of from Primo's over, like Ace Hardware up to where Livonia Italian Bakery is in that strip. Aren't most of those buildings built towards the sidewalk, so to speak? They're not right on the property line, but they're pretty darn close. They're older buildings. Am I right on that? I'm trying to remember that area exactly. Here, I'm back finally. Okay. Thank you, Casey. Anyhow, the reason I ask that is because, as Council President has said, the space is horrible in those places. both for those businesses and people patronizing them, although we all live with it because we enjoy some of those places. But what I was asking about is, couldn't the sign go on the building then if it's, in the way? To Mr. Chairman, I guess I should ask, or
Yes, they would be entitled to wall-mounted signage, of course. Yep.
rather than a monument sign or whatever they're advocating then, right?
Yeah, that is possible. The elimination of that monument sign, I think its value probably is in the height of that sign, right? It's larger than what the ordinance allows, so those are usually considered somewhat valuable to the proprietors and businesses. In this case, if it's required to be removed, they would have to look for an alternative placement for that sign, one that conforms to the ordinance. 6 feet would be the maximum height. Technically speaking, he could have 2 signs on these because these are 2 separate commercial buildings. I don't think we would want to see 2 signs. I don't think there's enough room for 2 signs. So a single monument sign and the opportunity for wall signs, I think, is more than enough to accommodate these two properties.
It was some of the thinking for planning as they looked at the scope of the project. It's beautiful what he's done here, in the remodel. Is there any thought of or discussion, because I don't have the notes in front of me to see anything with a wall sign mark or another sign, if you will?
No, I don't believe there was discussion regarding the wall signs, only the pylon sign. And I believe the petitioner indicated that he would look at that to see what he could do. I don't know if the minutes reflect that or not. There was discussion, I recall, either at the study or the regular meeting of the Planning Commission.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember McCullough.
Madam President, just a quick comment to answer some questions. I think that the sign placement towards the right-of-way, that building that is right to the west, that dry cleaner now, that's right up at the road. So if you, I think that's the whole purpose of having that sign close to the right-of-way. And I would agree with Madam President. I think you're spot on. I think putting it on regular, having the petitioner come in, because you do offer valuable advice to say, hey, it's a sign, if they want to bring in business, it'd probably be wise to also update the signage as well. So I think that's a wise move, but I think that is the purpose of having it closer to the road.
I'm sure it is. All right. Anything else? All right, moving along. And Mark, do you, Sarah can communicate with the petitioner to let him know that we would really like him to be here at the next meeting. And do you want to communicate our concerns about the sign? Thank you. All right, moving right along. Number 15, site plan petition. This also comes to us from the Planning Commission. Petition 2021-02-08-02, submitted by Quattro Construction LLC in connection with the proposal to remodel the exterior of the commercial strip center Plymouth Shops located on the south side of Plymouth Road between Garden Avenue and Middlebelt Road, 29195 through 29215 Plymouth Road in the northwest quarter of Section 36. Mr. Terramino.
Thank you. This is a similar request. It's a refacing of a building. This one's on Plymouth Road, just east of Middlebelt Road. And most of you are probably familiar. I know these photographs don't show the entire property, but they just give you enough to probably jog your memory as to this particular building. It's really highlighted by these all these colorful awnings. And so what the petitioner would like to do is strip the facade of the awnings, redo all of the glazing or the windows and storefront elevation, putting in new materials that include really a combination of cultured stone, stacked stone, what's referred to as longboard, which is an aluminum type siding, as well as a limestone. Again, Planning Commission considered this a significant upgrade to the building and is recommending approval.
Councilmember Toy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know what? I've been on Plymouth Road for 40-some years now, probably longer than some of you have been alive. And I got to tell you, any improvement, and this looks really nice, is a welcome addition. And Mark, thank you so much for your help for a lot of these business people that are trying to take those older buildings like mine is, and it's right up to the sidewalk. And I'm telling you, it's difficult because you want parking, you want to be able to service those people that are still coming in light of all this craziness with this virus. And I'm going to offer an approving. I think that the plan looks great from what I've read and seen, and anything we can do to improve that area is a welcome addition. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Toy. Sorry. Councilmember McCullough.
Madam President, just a quick thing. I mean, honestly, over the last year, I think I've obviously been at council for a little over a year now. We've seen the abutting property with the Play It Again Sports, with the coffee shop, the Big B Coffee going. We've had the Chick-fil-A across the street. So, maybe we'll see the enhancement of John's Cleaner that I think just faces one building off to the east. So this is exciting. This is such a renovation for that whole corner, and I'm happy to support as well. Thank you.
Vice President Barr.
Yeah, no issues with it. Just two comments. One, I just wonder, I'm going to wonder aloud if the development that's planned across the street has anything to do with spurring this now. Maybe they're totally disconnected. Either way, it's great for the city, but these things tend to build on each other. And then the second thing, I just want to remind again, we do have an item in our Strategic Planning and Economic Development Committee right now that I put that in there about 2 years ago to explore, with that end of Plymouth Road being one of the focus areas of our Vision 21 plan, to be looking at cohesively and seeing what types of revitalization tax incentive structures we can put in place there to try to nurture that along and get more of this, particularly in light of what the Vision 21 plan calls out. So I just don't want to lose sight of that. I know I'm vice chair of that committee. I think I'd have to double check. I think that's Mr. Jolly's committee. And I just want to remind you, Jim, that that's out there. And I think it'd be a great time to be looking at that item as a council. So thanks.
Madam President, is that on consent or on regular?
Consent, I believe. There were no objections, right?
No objections, Madam Chair, whatever works.
Consent. All right. Item number 16, proposed amendment to the Livonia Code of Ordinances as amended. This comes to us from the Department of Law to amend section 350 of Title 6, Chapter 1, Animals. And this was Council Resolution 43-21. Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the Law Department for crafting what I think is a very good response. As many of the audience might relate, this was going back to when we had an issue, and I had made a recommendation to the Law Department to see if we could strengthen our ordinance to protect our animals from inclement weather, and kind of judging and piggybacking off of a current ordinance. This takes into account that anytime a National Weather Service issues a warning, the animals would be brought into a controlled environment. It also enhances the outdoor shelters that the animals would be left in outside. There's also a shade requirement during the months of May to October. And I think it kind of covers everything without taking away too much. I know that the specific temperatures can be kind of a double-edged sword. But with the National Weather Service, that's going to protect within wind chill advisories. I think it's an overall step, especially looking at other people's ordinances and other communities. I think that this is trailblazing idea to take it a step further and give our animal control another means to enforcement. So I'm in happy support of seeing this, and I'd be happy to offer an improving resolution for regular.
Thank you, Councilmember McCullough. Councilmember Jolly.
Thank you, Madam President. This is, I think, an ordinance that strikes the appropriate delicate balance between giving the power to enforce to the animal control officers, while at the same time not getting down to a level of being too specific in the details that would actually end up preventing people from following the intent of the ordinance here. So I also thank Mr. Bernier. I think it's important that we take care of our beloved pets. We do what is appropriate to care for them in the cold weather and also in the hot weather. I commend Mr. McCullough for bringing this to our attention, and all the residents who have as well, residents and those people who care about animals so much to call in from other jurisdictions as well. So thank you all, and I look forward to passing this.
Thank you, Councilmember Jolly. Councilmember Barr, then Councilmember Toy. You're on mute, Mr. Vice President.
There we go. Thanks. I'm actually going to respectfully disagree on this, and I'm going to key in on it. First and foremost, obviously, there's nobody in this room that doesn't want pets taken care of, and the vast majority, and hopefully all pet owners in Livonia are doing that. But I had this ready to go, and then I just bumped my mouse and I lost it. I was going to read a portion of the record. So here it is. So the letter from law says that a review of laws of this and surrounding states as well as surrounding communities reveals that our current ordinance is the norm. There are a few cities and states that have stricter laws, but many rely upon state laws for enforcement. Our ordinances, while adequate, can be strengthened. And then they go on, because that's what we had asked them to do, was to show us what a new ordinance might look like. As I read through this, it goes back to something I said on an earlier item tonight about just not overreaching with what we do. I was actually taken aback by the specificity of this, and it just gets, in my judgment, gets beyond what we need to be regulating as a city. I think it's an overreach, and it's not because I dislike animals. Quite the contrary. I think this is an overreach for something that's not a huge problem, and quite frankly, even the situation that's drawn so much attention, while there might be differences of opinion as to how those animals were cared for, the point is our animal control officers were out there at least 3 times, and the dogs each time were found to be in good health. I'll also just say, having a lot of background and having a lot of family currently in Kansas and in rural areas, I mean, this is very much a city type approach to this. There's a lot of different breeds out there. There's a lot of different animals, and to try to paint a broad brush and say this is, and for us to be stepping in and telling people this specifically is how they should be cared for. Look, our ordinance already says that they need to be cared for, and our animal control officers follow through on that. And I just think this is an overreach. I think it's more than what we need to be doing. I would offer a denying for regular, obviously.
So you want, Scott, you want this one regular?
Yeah, obviously, yeah, because there's
Okay.
I don't have a total agreement on council on this.
Right,
so.
okay. Councilmember White?
Just a question through the chair to Mr. Bernier. Did the law department sit down with animal control to find out their views on how specific to get here? And, has there been feedback from the animal control division or officers?
There has been. I sat down with them when we were drafting it, and they helped me draft it. They had great concerns. They did not want to do what some folks wanted us to do, which is to set temperature limits. Because as one of the council members, I apologize, it's getting late, I don't remember who mentioned, all breeds are different. I have 2 Bernedoodles at home. When it's 0 degrees, they want to be outside and they want to be playing. The Chihuahua 50 degrees because it's too cold. So we shied away from the issue of temperature. And I think it was Mr. McCullough who suggested that we looked it up and saw, well, maybe we'll go with the issue of if there's a weather bulletin out there, and because that could be almost anything. It could be a windstorm, it could be a tornado, it could be a hurricane, God knows what it could be. But if we have that situations, we want to have the animals protected. We wanted to have the flexibility of taking into account the different breeds because different breeds have different tolerances. We did, however, there was a concern that a lot of people raised about the type of shelter because animals, if they're outdoors, have to have shelter. There's no question. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. The question becomes the specificity of the shelter. I understand Mr. Barr's concern about the specificity of it. We tried to draft one to make sure that the animals in questions were, if they were left out in a colder weather, if they are cold weather breeds, that they are in fact protected. Is it maybe too specific? I'll leave that to council to make that determination. But to answer the question, yes, we sat down with the animal control officers. They did not want to have it too specific because they wanted to have the ability to use their professional judgment based upon the breed of the animal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on council before I go to the audience members? We'll go first to Michael. Good evening, Michael. And if you could give us your first and last name and your address, please.
It's Michael Hayes, and actually, I hope this won't take up my time. I want to come up on a topic later. I'll be able to come back and revisit the next topic as you continue, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you actually covered what I was wanting to mention by the law department and by Vice President Bart by not being, if you're different breeds, like Councilman Jolly's dog definitely should not be left outside, probably if it's under 50 degrees. But I have a hound dog and I had a German short hair pointer. If you have hunting breeds, sporting dogs, weather with, I have an electric water bowl so the water never freezes. I have swamp grass in my dog house, and my dog, no matter what the weather, unless not Alaskan Husky, the dog wants to be able to be outside, and they don't. As far as so, I think that you are addressing those concerns by getting too specific. You could actually hinder the dog's health, and I thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We'll go next to Bethany. Good evening, Bethany.
Hello. This has never been about like the dog breeds and being left out.
Could you just again give us your first name and last name and address, please?
Bethany Ellis, and I live in Macomb Township, Michigan.
Thank you.
It's not about the exception, the people that have the electric water bowls and stuff for the dogs outside. I've been in animal rescue for 8 years, and I see all kinds of messed up stuff where the rules are meant to be able to enforce it on the people that are just throwing any kind of dog they get, because they don't care about it out in their yard to live without love or human companionship for its whole life, and they literally don't care about it at all. We're not talking about the people that dogs love going outside. These dogs don't love anything about life. The beagles, they're just they're not happy in playing outside. I have a 15-year-old beagle myself, and she likes going outside because then she gets a treat, but she certainly wouldn't love being chained up in a yard all day. I think if anything, it's not specific enough because there's sick people out there that are always going to find the loopholes or whatever, and the punishment for leaving a dog outside 24/7 is, even if the weather's not horrible, is animal neglect, at least, and animal abuse in my eyes. But I'm glad you guys are taking steps to do something, but just because these kind of limits or whatever is the norm doesn't mean that the norm of letting animals suffer should be the thing. We cared more, or you guys talked more about an ugly sign that pales in comparison to the beagle suffering.
2 minutes.
All right, thank you, Bethany. That was your 2 minutes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'd like to, 6518. I know you've been waiting to comment on this. Thank you for your patience. You should be able to unmute yourself, and that's #6. Good evening.
Hello, I'm Carissa from Westland, Michigan, and I appreciate you guys addressing this matter. I just want to agree with Bethany and express the urgency of this matter. You know, I know that the weather is warming up. However, it was freezing temperatures, below freezing. And, you know, if we just put ourselves, any human or any living creature in that place of the beagles or any other pet being stuck outside 24 hours, we would not appreciate that. And, you know, I know that there's concern about the breeds, but this is more about, like Bethany mentioned, neglect. And, you know, if water is a requirement, how is water going to maintain a liquid state if it's below 32 degrees? I know East Point has adopted the ordinance with the temperatures, and I highly encourage that we do that as well. I mean, these beagles are holding up their paws, you know, suffering. I mean, that is just horrible that we can just let that keep going. And, you know, situations are worse. I mean, they're not getting any activity, exercise. Neighbors have witnessed them being stuck in those little cages for their whole lives. I mean, this is not acceptable, really. And we would like to see something done, and we're still working on that petition. And I just want to express the urgency. Like, this is very, very important, because if nothing gets changed, they could freeze to death. I mean, this is not okay. You know, we live in a very cold state, and we need to see some changes made, really. And so I thank you guys for your consideration. I hope that we will continue to pursue this matter, and we'll be sending in the petition as well.
Thank you very much. There's no one else from the audience. I'd just like to respond a few points. Number one, when people chide the council for spending time on an agenda item, it indicates to me that perhaps people don't really understand what the business of council is. We have a duty by the charter to consider every item on the agenda. And the fact that some agendas get a lot of attention, it doesn't mean that we think they're more important than any other agenda item, but they're before us and they need to be discussed. And so, you know, when you want to level a charge at us that we spend too much time on something, there are certain matters that may seem unimportant, but they may seem arcane to people, and they may seem ridiculous that we're spending the amount of time, but they go to a lot of things in our city, like the economic development in our city, how a new development looks, how when you redo something, the sign's going to look. And those all go to the quality of life in Livonia. So, you know, I appreciate that maybe if your big interest is the bills, you think we spent too much time on the other issues, but those are before us because it's our duty to consider them and consider them thoroughly. And the other thing, I'm an animal lover, a big animal lover. I have a dog who is, you know, like I'm sure the majority of us who have pets, who is way too much a member of the family, who I can't sleep sometimes at night because the dog takes up too much space in the bed. When there are big outcries about the treatment of animals, I do sometimes wonder if the people that are so upset about animals are looking at the needs of some of the children in our community too. And I'm really not criticizing anyone for loving animals and advocating for animals, but I think we all know there are children in our community that don't have what they need and don't have the right kind of care and protection. And so, you know, I think it's important that we consider the kids in the community and the people in the community as we consider the animals in the community. So I just wanted to address the callers. I see that we have another person who wishes to speak. I'm going to assume it's on the same agenda item. Big Chuck McBride and Mr. McBride, if you could give us your full name and your address, please. You should be able to unmute yourself. Mr. McBride. Hello? You should be able to unmute yourself so you can address the council. I'll try this one more time. There we go.
Okay, I've got
Can you see me?
We can't see you. You must have your video off, but we can hear you.
Well, I'm looking for the video. I haven't used Zoom too much.
Okay.
But I don't see an audio setting.
Well, your audio setting's on. There should be a little something down the corner of your screen that says start audio. But since we have 2 minutes, let's not waste too much time of your time, your air time. Oh no, I'm sorry. I take that back. We do not allow video because of some issues that we've had in some of our meetings, and I'm not accusing you of some very inappropriate.
Okay. I was wondering why I couldn't see the video.
My mistake, but we can hear you. All right, and your 2 minutes is starting now. We're not going to use any of that other technical time against you. Good evening, Mr. McBride. If you could give us your full name and your address, please.
Chuck W. McBride, McBride.
Okay. And your address, please?
Which one do you want? 1640 Beverly, excuse me, I've got so many addresses. Walled Lake, Michigan.
All right.
48290. Mayor Ackley. You guys
right.
gotta know Mayor Ackley.
Pardon me?
Linda Ackley.
Okay.
The mayor of Walled Lake.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you knew her.
No.
Okay.
What can we do for you on this issue tonight, Mr. McBride?
Well, I was under the impression that I was supposed to answer some questions. I think it's relevant to a dog park situation in Livonia. Is that correct?
No, we're not talking about a dog park right now. We're talking about new requirements for animals to be brought in during certain weather conditions.
I don't think that was what I was supposed to be addressed to, but all animals should have some type of shelter.
Okay, we've addressed that.
Right. I thought that I was speaking on a place that was being used as a dog park.
Yes, that's the next. Well, that would be more appropriate to the next item, the last item on our agenda tonight. All right. Let's just hang on.
I might be on the wrong one.
Pardon me. All right. Councilmember Toy.
I think he was on the wrong one, Madam Chair.
Yeah, he was.
Just a quick comment. I just wanted to say, this is just a start, and I appreciate Councilman McLaughlin, his efforts, and Paul. Once again, thank you for bringing this forward and helping us out. Something needed to be done, and hopefully this is a start. I have 2 big dogs, and it's hard to keep track of everybody's needs in the community and everything else, but we're doing all the best we can. And I think Livonia does an excellent job in our police department, our inspection department, when they get called out on some of these issues, they do a great job. And this is only going to help improve that. That's all. So thank you so much.
All right. Anything else, Councilmember Toy?
Oh, I was just wondering if Jolly had a cat too.
We don't know. We have to save that. He's going to keep us in suspense till the next meeting. All right. Jim, we want to see a cat in your lap next meeting.
You may not want to see that cat.
All right. All right. So we have the amendment on the regular agenda. It cannot go on the consent. Okay. All right. And with that, we come to at 10:41, we come to the final item of our agenda this evening, our number 17. This is a proposed amendment to the Livonia Code of Ordinances as amended. This comes to us from the Department of Law to amend section 040L, 040M, and 400 of Title 6, Chapter 1, Animals of the Livonia Code of Ordinances as amended, and section 110 of Title 12, Chapter 20, Public Lands, Council Resolution 0321. Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Madam President. So obviously this one kind of got brought up. We did have been receiving a lot of resident concerns with open land, whether that there was school land or deemed public land in the zoning. With that being said, there was a lot of talk and it kind of went round and round and round to try to figure out a way to strengthen our current ordinance or even make adoptions to maybe even a public land ordinance going forward. With all that being said, right now the ordinance says that dogs need to be under control. And at least in myself, I feel that's subjective. There's a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of research that I've done that, at least for the way that the ordinance reads is, public streets, public parks, public thoroughfares, public places, and off premises of the owner or upon private property of another without the express permission of the owner of the said property. With that being said, I've had a lot of people that they thought we always had a leash ordinance, and we don't. Right now, obviously, it's under control. We do have a leash ordinance when it comes to the public parks in our city. And so looking at this, I was thinking at one point to punt it into the committee to study it further. But doing research and seeing what other surrounding communities, I think it's time to take a step forward and enact the leash law. I really do. I think that it helps the animals. It helps the people. We have a dog park right now that requires people to have vaccinations and certifications and be registered. But we also have people that are backing up to open public lands that people, just let their dogs kind of roam. So I think that it would be prudent for overall safety of the community to enact this and take the next step forward and adopting a leash law. So I would be offering and approving for regular, obviously, and for matters of discussion, obviously. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McCullough. Council. Any,
Madam President.
Councilmember Jelly.
Thank you. So I've had an opportunity to discuss this matter with some residents who've reached out to me, and I've asked questions to others. By and large, the feedback that I've received is that people believe that this is an appropriate step and that they expect in a city such as ours. I know that there are animal owners out there who, to varying extents, are able to control their animals. But it's not just about the person and their animal. It's about the people who are sometimes apprehensive about animals or children. And as much as I do love animals, I think it's important that we are setting a standard for people to behave. And in this case, this is less about animals and their behavior necessarily, but about people and how they're caring for the animals and how they're respecting the other people that may be around them at any particular point. So I believe this is an appropriate step. To be completely honest with you, I was one of those people who kind of had expected that this was on our books. And I look forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from council? Councilmember Toy.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Paul, if I may go to Paul. Paul, I thought we had a leash ordinance. When we had that Manny's law that John and I did back 100 years ago, when the pit bull ate that little dog up on 7 Mile. I mean, I don't mean to sound crass. I mean, the dog came after it and killed the animal, and the little thing was on a leash. So we did some kind of law on that then. Do you recall that?
Personally, I don't go back quite 100 years. I'm getting up there, but I wasn't around when that took place. Since I've been in the law department, either as an assistant city attorney or the city attorney, we've had what we have is the current law right now, which is that your animal has to be under reasonable control.
Okay.
There isn't, the only place that we have a leash law as such is on the city parks. So if you're in the city parks, it's actually a misdemeanor or a criminal offense not to have your dog on the leash.
Right.
And on the streets, or so to speak, the sidewalks, it's a civil infraction if your dog is not under reasonable control. The problem that we always have is defining what is reasonable control and what dog is under reasonable control.
Okay, yeah.
So that's the issue we run into. And one of the other things I want to point out in this ordinance, it also takes, as I indicated, the public parks is a misdemeanor. We had this dichotomy where the public parks was a misdemeanor, but if the dog was running loose in the neighborhood, it was a civil infraction. So we tried to make it consistent with the two. So we've actually, this ordinance would also change it in the parks and the streets to make it consistent. So the first offense of a dog off the leash would be a civil infraction of $100 fine. The second time would be a fine of $500. And then if you just don't learn your lesson and you get caught a third time, then it's a misdemeanor criminal offense. So it would be consistent in the park and in the neighborhoods.
Well, thanks, Paul. And Madam Chair, thank you. I was a little bit taken back too. And I'll call Knapp tomorrow and find out what, it's been a while. So, that we addressed something. So
we don't.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Councilmember Toy, we do not have, as the city attorney just stated, we have a leash in our parks. We do not have a leash law. It's control.
Right.
The rest of our public.
No, I appreciate that. I just wondered, Madam Chair, I just wondered what law we did back then. I'm trying to recall it. That's all. That's all I was trying to do.
If a dog attacks another animal, they'll either charge them with potentially dangerous or being a dangerous animal, which are misdemeanor criminal offenses. The animal at large currently is not. It builds up to a misdemeanor, where it's currently a civil infraction at a lower fine, a civil infraction at $500, and then the misdemeanor offense. Now, we've always taken the position, and the ordinance allows that if a dog does attack or menace somebody off the leash, the dog is not under reasonable control. And so that would kick in at that time.
There you go. That may have been where the leash came in. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging. I appreciate it.
Vice President Barr.
Yeah, Paul, so just so I'm clear, if this were to go through, anytime a dog was off the owner premises, it would have to be leashed, right? Other than the dog park.
No, or if it had the express permission of the owner of the other property. For instance, if Jim's cute dog came to my house and I said, your dog can run in the backyard with my dogs, it does not have to be on a leash. But if it's on any other property, it would have to be on a leash unless it had the express permission.
And then what about, and I'm not a dog owner, so I'm not speaking from personal experience here, but I know some people have I don't know if this is what you call them, but the electric leashes, or does that get counted as a leash for this purpose?
You and I, we kind of talked about that a little bit today, and quite frankly, it had never entered my mind, the electric leash. But as Mr. Jolly said, more after I thought about it, after you and I talked on it, part of the reason for the leash law, as much as for the ability to control your dog, is somebody else walking down the street. Because oftentimes when I'm walking down the street with my dogs, and I see a dog on the other side that's not on a leash, it gets my attention and it causes fear in me that dog might come after us. So it's the ordinance is as much for the person who doesn't have the dog as the person who does have the dog. But that could, Mr. Barr, if the council wanted to, we could amend it to that, to have something if they have the electronic device. Because I know they have those shock collars that people do. Hunters use it all the time. I can't honestly say that I've seen it too often in the city. I've seen hunters use it though. It could be amended to that.
I think this is my last question. Your notes to us said that surrounding communities are split. Is that split 50-50 between requiring a leash, not requiring a leash? Is it 80-20? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Honestly, I can't. I didn't do it. I went through and I was just hitting through the Muni codes and looking at some of them. Some had it, some didn't have it. And tonight, like I have to say, at 10:51, I feel like Todd Zelinsik. I've been doing so much talking tonight.
I'm all set, Madam President. I don't have any more questions.
All right, before I go to the audience, I just like, I 100% support the idea of a leash law. And our dog, who's never growled at another dog, was bitten by a pit bull one night last winter. And we didn't realize that it had been, that our dog had been bitten until we got home. It was one puncture wound. One of the issues always with dog attacks or anything else is finding the offending animal. The second point I want to make is I'm in the parks a lot and on the nature trails a lot. And I would guess, and again, Scott, I can't answer this with 80-20 or 30-70, but I would guess, depending on the day and the time, anywhere between 25 and 40% of the dogs are not on leashes. And that's where we have a leash law. And so I really like the idea of a leash law, but it comes down to enforcement. And the people that need the leash laws are the people that are not going to follow the leash laws. And leash laws are so difficult to enforce because, number one, in a city of 92,000 and 5,000 businesses and 36 square miles, we have an outstanding police department, as we all know, who will respond to any legitimate call. But a call to enforce and enforce a leash law violation, the ability of the police to get there and address that and document it is pretty low. And I really am, I do not like laws that are good laws in their intent, but that we can't enforce and that people are going to continue to break. And I'm not throwing my hands up in dismay, but I can tell you right now, the leash laws are not followed. And, I probably most people that follow the leash laws, their dogs are under control, but that's a terrible feeling when you're coming up on a dog and you have a dog that I mean, literally in 6 years has never growled another dog. And I would also say this, there are people that shouldn't have their dogs out at all. They're on leashes and the dogs are barely controlled because it's some crazy untrained, and I know, there aren't bad dogs, just bad owners. So, I'm really split on this, but I certainly understand why we think it would help, but I'm concerned about the enforceability and I'm concerned about it's probably the very people who need to follow this who won't. So anyway, let me go to the audience, unless anyone in council has anything else. All right, Michael. Good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to speak to Paul. By the way, Paul, you and I have crossed paths.
Michael, excuse me, the way this works, and it's always hard on Zoom calls when people aren't familiar, members of the audience do not address anyone directly. Any comments go through me, the chair of the meeting. So
well, I'd like to address you to address the attorney that we have crossed paths when he's been out riding his bike and I've been out walking Duke, and I walk Duke on a leash till I get to the open area, and I have an electronic, they're called correction collars, and they have a buzzer on them. So you buzz your dog before you shock them. We're very considerate nowadays. And I also, Dan Morris, we have one of the most reputable dog trainers in the state in Livonia, where many of us, myself included, have taken our dogs through the Dan Morris. So it's not fair. I think that if you're going to enforce this type of a policy, walking through a neighbor in the park, having it on a leash, but when you get to an open field area and you can and my dog knows when I have the collar on that he's able to run, these dogs need exercise. They're not a bunch of lap dogs. And you need to be able to because otherwise you talk about aggressive dogs. If you don't exercise them properly, you're going to have aggressive dogs. So I think that the leash consideration as far as walking down the street and any of that type of situation till you get to the open area. But then if a person has an electronic correction collar, along with our trash bags for picking up their waste, that should definitely be playing into any decisions being made. And also, one of the councilmen said that they see dogs roaming around in parks. I've been in walking. I've had my second dog, all sporting breeds. I've never seen unattended dogs running around in a park. Never.
All right, I'd like to ask a follow-up question, and I'll go to Vice President Barr. So when you are advocating letting your dogs run, where is it that you are doing this? In a park? It certainly sounds like public land.
I grew up by Stevenson High School.
And I think, Michael, and I understand, our dog needs to run. We understand that, and it's a real conundrum.
I tell you what, you guys are going to make me consider moving out of Livonia.
Michael, excuse me.
I'm going to move out of Livonia.
Excuse me. Okay, this is the real conundrum here. Because if people are walking and they aren't comfortable with dogs, and there's a dog running free, this is a difficult issue. But I certainly do appreciate, and I think everyone does, the need of dogs to run. So let me go to Vice President Barr.
Just realized I was muted. Madam President, do you mind if I ask Michael one quick question?
Not at all, please.
Michael, if you're still there, those shock collars, is that, maybe somebody at council can answer this too, but are those prevalent? Are those pretty common, or is that unique that you have one of those?
You walk into Menards, they have an entire display of them. They go from your immediate range, and depending on what degree, up to mine can go up to 2 miles. So it was developed for people with sporting breeds, but for what you guys are wanting to accomplish here, I think it's a very viable amendment that accommodation you can make for people that are trying to exercise their dogs. You want your dogs not to be aggressive, but you're going to deny them exercise. To me, it's counterintuitive. You talk to any of your veterinarians tell you that dog parks are the worst place to take your dogs to get stuff transmitted. So.
Well, you might have just answered my next question, Mike. I take it from your comment that you're not a member at the dog park.
That's the worst place to go to pick up other diseases from other dogs. Also, if you do get an aggressive dog in that situation, there's not going to be anybody there because they're not on leash to be able to handle it. You're going to end up with a veterinary bill because one of the aggressive dog is going to attack the other one. You're more likely having a dog park. When I'm out walking my dog by myself, if I see another person or another dog, I command my dog and I put him on the leash.
Your 2 minutes are up. Thank you.
Mike, thanks for answering my question, and thanks for your attendance tonight.
Thank you.
One question through the chair to Paul, please. The thing that started this whole thing was complaints about dogs running loose over at the old Bryant property on Merriman, and dogs, frankly, running unattended over there, or seemingly unattended. And I know, we've talked, I know I personally, during my 5.5 years on council, have talked to, the LPS a number of times about this, and we're all familiar with their reticence to take on the responsibility of enforcing this on their property. Paul, what do you think about as a solution? Right now, our ordinance says that they have to be on a leash on public lands. Not on public lands, on city parks. Would it be possible for us to say have to be on a leash when on public lands, which would then include the school property without having to get the schools involved?
Yeah, we could do something like that, Vice President Barr. Let me start off by saying this ordinance, council asked us to take a look at a possible leash law. The administration is not our position that we should or shouldn't have it. Quite frankly, this is a decision for council to make based upon the best interests of the majority of the residents of the city. So this is a decision for you folks to make on this. We could do a ordinance for public lands. However, just to know, that would probably requiring us to go through the zoning ordinances, which would require us to go through the planning commission and public hearings. It'd be different steps to go through it, and you could probably do something like that. But from what Michael indicated, he would still be in violation of that ordinance.
Right.
So if the idea is to allow a person like Michael, who I'm sure is a wonderful proper dog owner, because there are people who like that who are wonderful. If the idea is to allow someone like Michael to let his dog run, he's still gonna be in violation of the ordinance because the dog's gonna be on public land running.
Yeah. So my comment on this, it's probably similar to what Council President McIntyre said. I'm conflicted. I've said I'm not a dog owner. I like dogs. I just have an allergy that I can't have them in the house. But I like dogs. But I will say that there's one side of me that would very much be in favor of a leash law. I mean, Council President McIntyre talked about in our nature preserves. Years ago, I took my kids on a Saturday morning over to Rotary Park, and I've never gone back because we had so many scary situations for the kids in there with dogs coming after us that weren't on leashes that we've literally never gone back for a walk there as a family. So there's that part of me that I totally get it. The other side of me looks at just as Council President McIntyre said, is that the vast majority of people in Livonia are putting their dogs on leashes. I've talked to some of you individually, and you said, I'd never, even though it's not required, I would not walk my dog without a leash. Fortunately, I'm not aware of any major problems, frankly, any problems at all that we've had with this. I know that could change. And I'm also sympathetic to Mike's situation, which, full disclosure, I know Mike, and I know he's a responsible dog owner, and I understand what he's wanting to do. It's a tough one, and that's why every time this has come up in the past, it's been such a hot button within the city. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't know where I'm at on this right now, and I don't know where I'll be at right now when we'll vote on it in 2 weeks, but I'm going to offer out there a resolution to put this into committee. I don't know if that's what I'll ultimately push for in 2 weeks, but I'd like that prepared for an option so that we, and my main reason for that is also just to give more opportunity for community feedback. I'm actually surprised with it being 11:03. I'm pleasantly surprised, but I'm surprised that we don't have more residents here speaking on this tonight. So that's all I've got. Thanks.
Mr. Brown, would that be committee of the whole?
Yeah, at the lack of a better option for you right now, let's go with that.
Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Madam President. Just one quick thing. Listening to everything, this is one of those things. And to go back to Vice President Barr, when I was rolling through everything, that you start with public land, and then you look at it and you go, all right, so we could go through all these hoops, and then the street that I'm walking, in our suburbia neighborhoods, right? And dogs could be under control. So it was very subjective, and it almost was counterproductive in the whole look at it. And just for the record, I have 2 yellow labs that are, one's 2 and one is 1.5. And I wouldn't let them out. They see a squirrel, they're gone. They hear a fire truck, they're gone. And I'm not saying that there are people out there that have incredible control over their dogs. But there's also a lot of people out there that aren't dog people. And so when you're walking down the street with your, family or whoever it is, and a dog's not on a leash, even if it comes running up and it's harmless, that freaks a lot of people out. So again, this is a tough one. I mean, I hate to say, I know, I hope in the next couple of weeks, we can get a little bit more feedback. But again, this is where you look at ordinances and see what's best for the city, and it's tough. I've melted a ton of hours into this, so this is a little bit more information on my aspect on pushing this forward. So,
Thank you, Councilmember McCullough. Kathy White, the Honorable Councilmember Kathy White.
I'm torn on this too, and the way I see it, the main competing interest on the one side is the health and safety of residents that are, walking down the street in our community and have the right to be free from any dog running at them that they don't expect and don't know what to anticipate. Versus on the other side, the ability to let a dog exercise, to exercise a dog, and the enforceability of it is a problem. But I think right now I'm leaning towards the fact that I think our job as council members is more to consider the safety of our residents. So even though it may not be enforceable, even though it may present problems with exercising dogs. If we're protecting our residents, and if most people anyway have their dogs on a leash, if that's true, then I kind of at this point come down on the side of the safety of people to be to expect dog owners in the city to have their dogs on a leash. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have two people from the audience. I just want to say one other thing on the exercising the dogs. You know, that is a well-made point and a point well taken. When people buy dogs to live in the suburbs, part of the consideration needs to be what kind of exercise the dogs need. And, you know, frankly, if you're buying a dog in the suburbs, you need a dog that needs to run hard for 3 miles every day, you know, to expect that you're going to live in a city that can provide a place for your dog to do that. You know, and again, I understand I'm not, you know, people can have whatever dogs they want to have. I mean, right? But part of responsible pet ownership is really understanding when you get a dog what that dog needs. And there are some dogs that are, you know, better suited to city apartments, and there are some dogs that are better suited to farms, and there are some dogs that are, you know, so anyway, so I think that's, you know, part of it. And I don't see that it's the city's responsibility to provide, you know, 10 acres or 5 acres or 3 acres where people's dogs can run free. So anyway, but it's a tricky issue. All right. Councilmember Toy.
Ditto to you. Thank you for saying that. You know, when you get a dog, you want to look at the size, you want to look at what you feed the dog, what type of personality it has, and all that, you know. And some of us are better at it than others. It's kind of like children. No, but not really. But anyhow, all I'm saying is the hour is late, but I appreciate all the points. But I think I side right now with the very capable and honorable Kathleen White, councilwoman, because like she has said, it's called the safety issue. And that's in our charter of what we're supposed to be doing. Safety and welfare for our residents. So I think Kathy made a great point. Thank you.
All right. With that, we have two people who would like to address the council, and we appreciate that they've hung in there for this late hour. I will go first to Bethany. Good evening, Bethany. And if you could please give us your name and your address.
Bethany Ellis, Macomb Township.
Okay.
And I'm sorry that I came off as disrespectful earlier. That wasn't my intention.
No, you didn't come off as disrespectful. I just am pointing out that we have a job to do, and the job is to cover every issue until we are all comfortable that we're where we need to be. So it wasn't an issue of disrespect. It was just an issue of this is what we, you know, this is our work. So no issue with that. But please go ahead.
I think I agree with you with the leash laws, especially in the city. I had a 80-pound black foster pit bull last year, and I could walk him up without a leash. Like if their squirrel walked right in front of us, he wouldn't get it if I told him not to. But that doesn't mean that some crazy dog that runs up and like randomly bites him isn't going to get eaten by Bowser protecting, you know? And it's like if everyone just has their dogs on a leash in a bit crowded area, then you don't have to worry about your dogs getting injured, your dogs getting spooked, or but with the shock collars, I don't think that should necessarily be widely encouraged. I've seen children shocking the, you know, just hitting the button, not even knowing what it's doing with the poor dog yipping. But on that note, I do have a invisible fence at my house in the front yard because we weren't allowed in our subdivision to have an actual fence. And it's better than the dogs running away, as long as they don't have heart problems or anything. But I'm in favor for the leash law.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to SC1. And again, if you could please give us your name and your address. You should be able to unmute yourself. Good evening. Oh, there we go.
I'm Chuck McBride, 1641 Beverly Boulevard, Walled Lake, Michigan, 48.
Okay.
Look, guys, the leash law, from a logical point of view, the law should be made for those people who it needs to be applied to. So if we don't have a consequence for the guys who have their dogs off leash and they attack someone, we have no way to discourage it. On the other hand, if a dog doesn't have a leash on and it's a pretty good dog and it doesn't do anything, at least we have an option for the guys who can't control their dogs. Look, I'm gonna get straight to the point. I'm the baddest man on the planet when it comes to dogs, okay? Leash is important. I have listened to everyone, but what I did not hear was about 2 victims. I didn't hear about the people, the humans, or the kids, and the dog. Don't we understand that when we have these cases that dogs get off leash and they hurt someone and it's the owner's fault, guess what, guys? The dog dies. The dog dies. The dog doesn't get an opportunity to go to court and advocate for itself. Everybody's talked about this. I'm going to tell you something. I had Detroit call me about the 2 little girls that got killed over there, and I was talking to those guys down there. And they was more concerned about politics. And they said that was a horrible way that the girls died. And I told them, no, I said, that's the only good thing that happened. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And they said, what do you mean? I said, because when you're mauled by a dog like me over 20 or 30 times, you don't feel it. You don't feel it when you're dying. You only feel it and go through the post-traumatic stress or the horrors of dogs after the attack. That's what these little girls or little boys have to go through if they're mauled or bitten or killed or the parents.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate your call tonight and your comments. All right. We go. There we go. You should be able to unmute yourself. There we go. Good evening again.
Hello, it's Carissa from Westland, Michigan, and I just wanted to say that I am in favor of the leash law. I actually have a pet sitting, dog walking, and training business, and while I completely understand the need for exercise, there are long leashes out there. There are 20, 50 feet leashes out there that can be used in a wide area, and that way that we're not compromising lack of exercise and we're not compromising safety, because at least the dog would be controllable. Because you could take the best trained dog, and if there's a squirrel or a rabbit, there's no guarantee that they won't go after it. So I'm highly in favor of the leash laws, and thank you guys for considering that.
Thank you for your call and your comments. All right, and next we go to Mr. Stephen Johnson. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam President and council members. When this matter came up before the council in January, President McIntyre recounted that she had an experience with a loose dog in one of our parks. About a month ago, I also encountered a loose dog at one of our parks. What I did was to call the animal control, and to their credit, they arrived within 10 minutes. They located the dog and its owner, who put the dog on a leash. A happy, safe ending to the story because of the ordinance requiring dogs be leashed in our parks. Contrast that to an encounter my wife and I had at the vacant property near our home, where 2 loose dogs came and charged at us. We called the police because it was on a Saturday, and after they arrived, they informed us that unless they observed them pretty much attacking us, they had no authority to do anything. We feel the ordinances regarding leashing of dogs is disjointed, where in one part of the city, citizens are protected by a leash law, and in the other parts of those same laws don't apply. As you all well know, there are places for people to let their dogs run loose while keeping the public safe. One is at the Livonia Dog Park at Bicentennial. The other is at Hines Park, where dogs need to be licensed and up to date on their shots. Professionals we have consulted with state that reasonable control can only be achieved by leashing a dog. Thank you all for your attention to this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right, so we have a resolution for approval, and we have a resolution offered to refer to committee of the whole. Is that correct? All right. That's it. Anything else on this item? At this time, we go back to the audience. If anyone in the audience would like to communicate with council on anything not in this evening's agenda and you didn't do so at the beginning of the meeting, now's your opportunity to do so. Calling once, calling twice, calling 3 times. All right, we have no one. So with that, council, at 11:17, we are adjourned. Thank you, Livonia.